Guten Morgen, meine Freunde. Das ist 4 Oktober. Oktober. Okay, my German's very, very poor these days. 14 October. No, that's 14 October. So 4th October. Okay, enough screwing around. Welcome back to another Drago Dog Walk Talk. Yeah, you can't stay too serious and everything, otherwise you can shoot yourself. The way things go these days. Look, I mean, it's obvious enough. The leadership in Europe is very hell-bent on war. They just don't want to be the ones to start it, to have the official excuse to their population. See, the Russians did. Never mind, we're trying to close international waters, which is piracy. We stopped the Russian... actually, this shadow tanker wasn't even... it wasn't under a Russian flag. It was under another country's flag, and it's heading toward India. So Macron, when he stops it to inspect it for drones or whatever other crap excuse they're using at the moment, that's high seas piracy. France doesn't have access to oil. Doesn't want to buy oil, it wants to steal oil. Oh, gee, the traditional European, particularly Western European way of doing things. We'll just steal it from somebody else. So, what Macron doesn't say, which is typical for European morons, and they are, this tanker is heading toward India. Let's begin with that. So, Macron has decided, I'm going to piss in India's cereal bowl. That's one, because India obviously bought that oil. Oil's en route. And France is the agent that has now at least delayed, if not stolen outright, this oil. That's Indian oil. On a ship that's called a shadow fleet. Shadow fleet means the West doesn't get to insure it. That's really what it comes down to. It doesn't follow Western dictates. There's lots and lots of ships like this, thousands of ships all over the world, and the West doesn't get to make money off of them. So it's a shadow fleet. Lloyd's of London being the number one, well, and slipping very, very quickly, insurance agency. Because Russia started insuring ships, China started insuring ships. The key point here is that the port that's accepting the ship accepts the insurance policy. And if they're accepting Russian or Chinese insurance policies, all's good. You don't get a monopoly. It's just like SWIFT. SWIFT thought it was a monopoly, even though actually members in SWIFT, the administration of SWIFT were against blocking other countries, Russia in particular, because they knew very well they don't have a monopoly on technology. They just have an established system. They were the first big ones, really big ones in, and they got themselves a monopoly, and nobody else wanted to spend the money to set something else up. They just kept using it. But once you take them out of their comfort zone, and they have to invest and start other systems up, like the Russian pay system that has a lot of Indian companies, a lot of other countries in, or the Chinese system, which looks like it's going to be the next dominant one. And if they unify those two systems between the Russian and the Chinese system, SWIFT is basically going to have Western Europe and a few other areas, and the US. SWIFT's days are done. And they were very correct to say that. But the politicians being the politicians, ignorant pusses that have no concept of anything about it except how to please the next election cycle, what they think will be needed in the next election cycle, and get the backing IE, get the next kickbacks for the next election cycle, and bribes, and screw everybody else. So now you get the shadow fleets. So, but the funny part is, more likely, who's going to be hit hardest in this? Who's going to get hit hardest? That's right, the dumbass Europeans. Welcome to reality, because you're buying the majority of your oil products from India. And Indian oil products, because India doesn't have oil wells, well, not much if it does. Actually, there's oil all over the world. Oil is a non-essential good. Oil comes, it's not dinosaur poop. Coal is dead trees. Oil is a methane layer that's between the crust and the mantle. Under high pressure, it's been proven in laboratories and on some of the moons of Jupiter, methane can be transformed into oil, which is then under high pressure and temperatures is cracked into various other products from raw oil. I'm not going to get into a discussion on this. It's a long discussion, a long lecture, and most of the people listening probably don't really care about that and going down that route. But yes, so the number one client of Indian cracking of Russian oil is whom else? Yes, the Europeans. And without that, they would crash. In fact, this is why Biden asked the Indians to do this, to keep the Europeans from, to make it look like they're leaving Russian oil, just make them pay more, but at least they won't crash and burn. Now they're getting to crash and burn. Because you know what the Europeans are, mostly morons, at least the ones sitting in power. And the people that support them are mostly morons. That really, well, I don't know how much are morons, at least the people supporting them, as opposed to masochists that really like to suffer and make it self-suffering. No, Drago, no. Somebody dropped some plastic wrap with some kind of food on there or whatever, sauce. Ты получил? Куда она улетела? No. He's going for it. Oh, I hate, you walk down these country roads, and the local people live here and mostly keep everything clean, but then you get these other drivers that come through, with delivery drivers, taxi drivers, and just people coming in and out, and they just throw their trash. Pigs, basically. You teach people to do it, I mean, not to do it, but it's a constant fight. The human nature. Let me just throw it on the floor or on the ground and I'll drive away. That way it's not my problem anymore. It's just everybody else's problem. Really can't stand that. Teach my kids from day one. You don't litter. Take whatever you brought with you, take that out with you. Anyways. And by the way, that's a little side note on how civilizations become barbaric. You know, it's much easier to become a barbarian than to be civilized. And when we moved to the U.S., this is back in early 80s, the U.S. was running a massive campaign of trying to get people not to throw trash everywhere. And the campaign slogan, I guess, or mascot, was this Indian who's crying. What did you turn my land into? And it worked. It worked. I mean, it ran for decades, right? But it worked. It turned people's mentality into, maybe we should clean up after ourselves. Not everywhere, obviously. And the higher the poverty rate, the more trash. That just goes hand in hand. Less people care about the environment because they're poor. They're caring about survival. And that's what they're caring about, which is something that the Greens are too stupid to understand. The richer society is, the more it cares about secondary, tertiary needs like the environment. The poorer society is, the more it's in survival mode, and this doesn't give a damn. So by making your societies poor, you're making your societies more into the I don't give a damn. I'm just going to exploit whatever's around me to keep myself alive and my family alive. But then again, the Greens are morons, most of whom have never worked a real day in their life. Most come from entitled families, or try to act like entitled families. They really don't understand human nature. I don't think I have too many Greens watching me, so I'm not too worried about flames. Though you never know, it might get clipped and sent out to the green woke mob. Oh well, let them come in, maybe they'll learn something. But anyways, so when the mass migration in the U.S. started from Mexico and other places where people were in survival mode and just don't give a damn, the degeneration started really, really quickly. And the trashing up of everything started really, really quickly. And those marginal people in your own society, they may have not done it because, society will look badly on it, but really would like to do it, just throw trash wherever or act like degenerates or marginally insane people. They sort of feel like, hey, I'm empowered. look, all these other people are doing it. Nothing's happening to them. Why the hell should I care? And they start throwing trash on the ground or acting like insane lunatics and degenerates and so on. Drago, куда ты лезешь, а? Пошли. Пошли. And then the next marginal slice starts doing the same thing, and on and on and on. And then suddenly the majority are degenerate, or acting like degenerates, or acting like barbarians. That's how society degenerates. It's a lot easier to go down the slope than go up the slope of civilization. It's just how it is. Mass migration from third world will always turn you at best into a second world, if not outright into a third world. And it's going to take decades of assimilation and education to bring yourself back up, even if you have those kinds of resources left over. This is what we see in Europe. Europe is a shithole. It's a self-created shithole. Very few other words to describe it. It's an open sewer. Western Europe is just an open sewer. And the years I haven't been there, to be honest, in about 7 years. Really can't go there nowadays. But every time I went there, there's always an amazing thing to watch. The degeneration of Western Europe. It was just continuous. And so we move forward, as all things do in life. So, what the heck? Okay. By grabbing this French, by the French grabbing this tanker, they're of course pissing off the Indians, because that is an act of piracy against the Indians, first and foremost in this case, the client. And they're also cutting off their own supply of products, of oil-based products. Why? Because the Indians are not going to sacrifice it for themselves. They'll just cut down exports and keep what's going. And sooner than later, as is obviously going to happen, most of the trade, as already is happening, most of the trade is going to go east and bypass all of Europe. Europe is very quickly becoming an insignificant peninsula that Russia doesn't care about. But without Russia, Europe is going to be very hard-pressed to survive. And once again, because I'm really bad at doing this, I've been chastised several times by those close to me, to remind everybody to do the YouTube thing. Hit like, share. If you'd like to support my work, by all means, I will be very thankful. I've got a Bitcoin wallet address in the description. But at the minimum, just hit like, put some comments down. I try to read all of them. I don't succeed anymore, because I'm happy to say I've grown enough that there's enough comments that I don't always make it through all of them, but I try. And let other people know. Cheers. Yes, there's Drago. Anyways, so yes, of course, just like with any strikes on Russian oil refineries, the people that are getting damaged are actually the Europeans, who are the #1 importers of Russian oil and oil goods. It's not Russia. And even if they're not importing directly from Russia, they're still importing fungible goods, which go up in price because the amount of commodity goes down. Again, Europeans dancing on their own graves. And all those people who are supporting actions of Macron and other people like that. Oh, by the way, Macron is building a $148 million bunker. That's got reported in the news. With 1,500 square meter bunker for him and his wife, husband. Sorry about that. I don't know, Macron might come out and try to sue me the way he's suing Candons. Of course, she's got a bit of a bigger audience than I do, but still. The interesting part is, if you're husband, wife, husband, either way, groomer, because that's exactly what that is, and that's undeniable any which way. Drago, stój, Drago. Sorry about that. Because, when you're grooming a 14-year-old to be your lover, whether you're male or female, as an adult, you're a criminal. That's just flat out what it is. It's a crime against a child. And it doesn't matter what gender that is, it's still crime, even in France. So, either way, this criminal and his husband, I'm talking Macron in this case, her husband, are building a big bunker. That's what was out in the news. I don't know if it's true or not, of course, but that came out. So I guess they're preparing for World War III. I wonder how many servants they're going to have around them, because I doubt if they're going to want to serve themselves. 1,500 square meters. Yeah, that's a pretty big bunker. Better hope that nobody gives the coordinates over to the Russian strategic military branch, the ones that drop the big missiles. Because that's another thing with all these bunkers. You really better hope that nobody knows where they're located. Because if you don't think that's a bombing magnet, oh Jesus. I mean, that would be like one of the biggest bombing magnets in the world. Okay, so where are the enemy elites gonna go hide? Yes. If we could just nuke that and the military installations and leave the rest of the population alone. Why bother? Just take out the leadership. They're all willing to be in one place after they start a big war. Hey, you don't even have to reach them as long as you crash everything above them. They ain't getting out at that point. I don't know if they ever think of that. I have a friend of mine from New Zealand. He's talking about all these rich Westerners, particularly Americans, are buying up land in the South Island and building bunkers and stuff there. Because, that way they'll be out of the way of the blast. Which always leaves the next question. How the hell are they going to get there? Stupidly. If you're sitting in New York, London, or Washington, New Zealand might as well be on Mars if a war starts, especially when you consider hypersonic missiles, if they're sub-launched, would hit you within 3-4 minutes. You're never going to get a chance to head to the airport, especially New York traffic and everybody else trying to run out of the city, even if you have a private helicopter. But then there's the little fact of EMP blast, electromagnetic pulse. Anytime a nuclear device explodes, it emits an electromagnetic pulse. If it explodes on the ground, it's a limited scope pulse, obviously by the terrain of the ground. The higher up in the air it explodes, the bigger the range of the pulse. So if you blow one off in the stratosphere, you can take about a third of the globe right offline. So there's a good chance any of the systems in the planes or the helicopters go overcharge on top of the chips, and they burn out. And then what do? You crash. You never get it till you get to the big bunker that you've built for yourself in the South Island of New Zealand. These people are insane. I mean, you got to be pretty damn stupid to go down that route and believe in that. But hey, it is what it is. Stupid people and their money. But these stupid people have the capacity to start a big war. And on high seas piracy, Russia is going to have to respond one way or the other. I would personally, any French ships anywhere would become privateer target. Put a bounty on all French ships. If the French want to play this, let's go back to privateer days. And let's play that game. Hey, Somali pirates, you want to earn a couple $1 million? Grab the French ship that's passing by. Or any ship heading to France, or any ship coming out of France. We can do this. Hey, we can do this. It was done for hundreds of years. By the French, by the way, first and foremost, the French and the English, and the Netherlands, and the Spanish. So this is a Western tradition. Why not? Pay a bounty for every captured French ship. No other flagship, or no ship that's not heading to France or out of France. Yeah, why not? We can play this game and have it done by proxy. They like proxy wars, so let's have a proxy war on the high seas. Why not? That's the Western way. That's the problem too. The West and all the other people that cheer all this crap on is they never seem to get the point that they're not the only players in the game. They're not, and they're very, very lucky that Vladimir Vladimirovich is as patient as he is, because believe me, Russia has its own neocon wing. I won't say neocon in the American sense of world empire, but militant wing in the government and the elites and the majority of the population these days They would really like a bad strike into Macron's heartland, or the Starmer's heartland, to get these people, get their attention that they've now crossed one Rubicon and the next one is going to be extermination, which I don't seem to get. They don't. Okay, so up north on the front lines, we've got Kupiansk, which is almost fully fallen. There's a big cauldron formed with at least what looks like around a brigade's worth of Ukrainians in north or southwest Kupiansk. They've basically been cut off from escape. They've got like a 100-meter wide section for them to try to run through, which is suicide. Staying in place and not surrendering is also suicide. So yeah, that's Kupiansk has fallen, and once Kupiansk is gone, you've got a pretty straight shot toward Krasny Liman, and from there you bring Sverdlovsk under fire, in artillery overwatch positions. So it's continuing. The collapse is continuing. The Ukrainians are throwing whatever little reserves they have. Soon maybe we can get some real good Europeans in there to show them how it's done. And while we're showing how it's done, I'm watching these videos of various NATO trainings like Swift Response up in Gotland, because we're just going to go after Gotland like we need any part of Sweden. The only thing Gotland's got as an island is it's an overwatch position on shipping. So that may make it a worthwhile target, but nobody's going to invade it. You just level it. That's what missile technology is for. So Gotland and the Gotlandians may have lots of incoming presents one day soon if they keep going the way they're going. They're preparing for the Russian land invasion. That's not going to bother coming. Why? Why would you do it? Any installation on Gotland was going to get Gotlanded by very large caliber missiles. And then it's going to get Gotland blown up. Gotlandsplosion. And the Gotlandians get to go Gotland themselves very, very hard for being morons, along with all of Sweden. Sweden, a country that's the rape capital of Europe, Stockholm, if not already the world. Think that one over. Where women are afraid to go out at night by themselves. Oh, wait a minute, that's all of Western Europe. Where it's not healthy to go into certain districts of the cities. Oh wait, that's most of Western Europe and Central Europe too, are afraid of the Russian invasion. What would we want from Sweden? Sweden has nothing. Nothing we need or want. Zero. Sorry, Swedes. Be upset. Feel less than loved. You have nothing we need. Most of Europe has absolutely nothing we need. If we need any extra brain power to our own, we can buy it. And bring it here. Why would we want to go there? Into the shithole post-industrial crap that Western and Central Europe has become. There's nothing there. We don't need your land. We don't need your castles. We don't need your millions of migrants that are just parasitical and don't want to work, but you're feeding. We don't need your woke ideology. We don't need your Satanism. We don't need anything you have. It's you who need us. Number one is an enemy. And I think quite a few are waiting for us to bleed out to liberate you. No, we're not going to. Sorry. We've done that way too many times for Europe. Not going to happen this time. You want freedom, you either take it with your own hands, or you can always move to Russia. Or, I don't know, run off to New Zealand. Of course, New Zealand's even more woke than most of Europe these days. But that's another point. So there's that. There's that insanity. But I'm watching these guys, and I'm watching videos coming out from other NATO training, and this is good for us, of course. But how bad are Western generals? How moronic and stupid are Western generals? Let me count the ways. Let me count the ways. So yeah, I'm back. yes. It's a dog walk, but I'm the one talking. So yes, my fine features are going to be shocking and scaring you for the next 10 minutes or so as we continue this talk and walk. Anyways. Yes, if you don't keep some level of humor, you probably just go hang yourself the way the world is being run. I don't think there's been this many morons running the world since, prior to World War I. And just like now, Nicholas I was running around trying to calm the Europeans down, and all the Europeans wanted war. They wanted a glorious war, the 2-week war, and then we would all have great parades, not like Trump's parade, but really great parades as we triumphs, as we celebrate our victories. Yeah, that didn't quite turn out that way, did it? Drago, iди сюда. Иди сюда. So anyways. So there's that. Yes, this is my Mad Max t-shirt. An excellent movie. Really fan of Mel Gibson. Not so much just for his movies, but for his stances. Good Christian stance. I know he's not popular in Hollywood in the West. We should come here, Russia. Mel Gibson, Mel, if you're listening to this, you should come here. We'll have an interview, take you out to eat. You'll really like Russia. If you like Mount Athos, you'll really like Russia. So, you should come visit. Lots of fans. That's right, lots of fans. I'll have you over to my house. My wife will be thrilled too. So, anyways, that's the message to Mel. If any of you are friends with Mel Gibson, let him hear it. Hey, you never know. So, going further, so yes, that's Gotland. But I'm watching these videos from NATO, and as I was saying, how stupid are Western generals? Thank God they're this stupid. It's as if the last 3.5 years never happened. You're watching the maneuvers. None of the tanks have Mongols on them or chains or anything else. The way the infantry is maneuvering, they're still bunched up, very, very bunched up for drones. They're just the way they're moving at all. It's like, yes, drone-rich environment, drone target-rich environment. Let me rephrase that. I mean, obviously, nothing's changed. They're looking for big maneuver thrusts. Yes, nothing's changed. And which is amazing because, okay, you could almost excuse the Israelis. They did adapt relatively fast afterwards, after they lost a bunch of people, a lot of people. Even in the first weeks of their genocide in Gaza, they're still bunching up, sitting around, kumbayaing, and getting grenades dropped down on top of their heads and such as, and so on, because they still hadn't adapted to the drone-rich environment that Hamas was executing on them. But they did adapt after enough losses. But that was a year into this conflict in Ukraine. As the drones are still, by the way, being adapted and expanding. And you're looking at 3.5 years later, NATO has idiot generals. Thank God for that. Just for all the NATO troops are eventually going to get tossed in this meat grinder, do write goodbye letters to your wife and kids and your mothers, because, yeah, well, if you're lucky, you'll get the surrender. That's after declaration of war. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of considered mercenaries, and they don't get a lot of mercy. So, mercs don't get mercy. They get mercied. So, there's that. Yeah, so, and these are the people that are going to be leading the West. I mean, I think a lot of these generals are just as moronic as the politicians. That they don't learn, which is good for us, of course. And the funny part was when the Ukrainians were laughing at them, because these guys were just showing what kind of morons they really were. And the Ukrainians are laughing at their maneuvers and all that. Okay, so now a little on the Tomahawks. Will Tomahawks be sent? I don't know. Right off the bat, I don't know. There's enough idiocy, they may be sent. But here's the thing about Tomahawks. Never mind the U.S. doesn't have enough of them for the big war with Iran that it is getting ready to start. Or Israel will start for them, whichever way it's about to participate in. I mean, it's pretty obvious to everybody this is going to happen. The U.S. has a limited quantity of Tomahawks. I was on a show, they were filming. It was one of those shows. It's a documentary type show, so they film for an hour and a half or an hour, asking you a whole bunch of questions, and they take 3 minutes of that. You and the other experts. Their propagated line is the U.S. is going to sell the Ukrainians old Tomahawks to buy its Block V Tomahawks, the new version. Like, no, they're not. They don't have enough to begin with. They didn't like my answer. Like, no, they're not. They don't have enough to begin with. Second of all, Tomahawks are primarily designed as a sea-to-land missile, right? And then you had they're, of course, they're not just sea-to-land now. They're land-to-land. Because what you had was the Aegis Ashore system. Aegis being an anti-aircraft system. Thing is, which was something Russia pointed out right off the bat, when the Aegis systems went into, were just planning to go into, and they already are, in Romania and Poland, was that the Aegis Ashore launchers are just the right fit for a Tomahawk and can launch Tomahawk missiles. So they're dual purpose in that case. Missile tubes. And the only way you tell is when something flies out, unless you're allowed to do an inspection. So, and that was one of Russia's big complaints. And when the West was saying, oh, don't worry, Russia, that we suck missile launchers right beside your borders. It's all for Iranian missiles that will fly this way. Okay, so just because you are geographically challenged doesn't mean everyone else is an idiot. But that was the line that NATO was trying to push through. That yes, this is all going to go fly to stop the Iranian missiles, which is why we have it placed right on your borders. Well, Tomahawks in and of themselves are no game changer. Yes, they're long-distance missiles. They're slow. The ones that they may use, if they ever use, are electronically old. Dated. The newer missiles the U.S. ain't gonna give up. But here's the thing, you have to build a base for it. And you have to move the Aegis Ashore system there for it to launch them. And they're not mobile. So that makes it what? That makes it a very, very big target. And of course, there will be American boots on the ground 100%. Maybe one or two Ukrainian mugs that you can throw up there for the media. Oh, see, they're Ukrainians. Oh, I get rid of the black and Asian guys and the Hispanic guys from the video because they don't look Ukrainian. Okay, now you can take the video. All the white guys will stand there and pretend to be Ukrainians. Yeah, that's the level of PR there. But anyways, so just setting this up in a target-rich environment, the sun that's constantly getting struck is a high enough risk. I think any serious attempt to set this up will more likely get an Iskandar or a Kinjal or a Zircon or some other present screaming in at very high speeds to send all those American boots on the ground and Ukrainian helpers to burn in hell with Saint Bandera right there. Sorry, but if fuck around and find out, as Americans so love in this administration to say to everybody, yeah, well, it works for you too. There's that. Like I said, though, as I've said on every show, the problem with Tomahawk is it is nuclear capable. And the U.S. is got a woody for decapitation strikes. So if you've got a Tomahawk heading toward Moscow, nobody's going to sit around and find out, is it a nuclear warhead or is it a conventional warhead? Is it heading toward the edge of the city or to some electric plant, or is it heading straight to the Kremlin? It's going to be bye-bye America, bye-bye Western Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. Welcome to being glassed. I hope your insurance policies are paid up. Well, actually, insurance companies go glass too, so it doesn't really matter, does it now? Where the hell is Macron's bunker? It's target number one. So, and I think in Washington, there's just enough people with half or a couple brain cells left to figure that one out and go, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Let's not do that. But I may be wrong. I may be wrong. What I loved was the 800 general meeting and all that. And people kind of, listen, it was all a ruse. After that, they had meetings with key generals, or maybe all 800 of them, and they told them the real plans. Dude, why would you fly in 800 friggin' generals? And the fact the military didn't collapse with 800 4- and 3-star generals gone, or it tells you there's about 600 too many. Let's just think in 804 and 3-star generals. Holy mother of Christ, is a top heavy. I mean, you're basically putting a brigade of generals. If you put all the generals together, it's a far rare brigade minus. But I think if you put all the 1-stars and the up, and handed them all rifles, you would have at least a brigade plus. Maybe even, yeah, you'd have at least a brigade, an infantry brigade there, just of general officers. I mean, it's insane, it's ludicrous, but that is what the U.S. military is. Whenever they had cuts in the U.S. military, they cut up and they cut down. Cut down, they'd release people from service. They're talking mid-ranking officers, NCOs, and so on. I even knew one guy, he got cut 2 months before retirement. I mean, you want to talk about screwed right there, because there are no 401k plans in the military, in the U.S. military. So if he doesn't make his 20 years, he doesn't get anything. He got cut literally 2 months before. I think he went to court to try to get his retirement. I mean, this is, you want to talk about BS right there. 19 years and 10 months in of service, and bye-bye, and screw your retirement. And try making a career and getting some kind of retirement after that, when you're ready that far in. So yes, yeah, the U.S. military will do things like that. For all those people who are thinking of signing up, just think that one through. But then there's the cut up, where the colonels became 1-star generals, and 1-star generals became 2-star generals, because they had good friends, and suddenly they had new spots on the big guys' staffs, to make sure that the good friends and the team members they grew up with didn't get cut like all the lower ranks. So yeah, there's that. 800 generals. Oh, they had the secret talk with them. Again, why would you have to bring them in to have the secret talk? Either Haxus flies out to them, or they have closed lines of communications, or you just bring in a few people and you don't advertise that. Period. You bring in 5-6 staff from each central command, and you just don't talk about it. They go one flight over, and that's it. But, so yes, this was Trump's ego. This is Haxus's ego. Number one, first and foremost, squarely in place. And the fact that not a single general would ever quit tells you that these guys are in for the big money afterwards. They're not in for the long haul. They're in for the big money afterwards. And if you're a 4-star or a 3-star, that big money is already staring you in the face, baby. There's corporations that want you as lobbyists or board of directors to get you in as a board of directors, so you can get them into further to your friends who are now in your positions. There are, they need new faces on the teleprompter now that, people like Hodges and Petraeus have just blown through whatever little credibility they had. They need to get new guys in there with more credibility, with an extra can of ass sprayed on there that can be chewed away slowly as their credibility folds. This is how it goes. So these guys are all looking at their turn at the big money, and they're not going to go throw away their rank. They're not going to go and tell Trump he's full of crap. Of course not. This is big money, and damn it, if we don't end the world today or tomorrow, I may actually get to earn some of that big money before it's all over. So yes, I am not going to tell Trump to his face anything but any truths. That's how the American military works. And there was a pundit that was actually on. Yes, well, that showed Trump who's loyal, who's not. And what I'm afraid is they're going to start promoting colonels to 1-stars and 1-stars to 2-stars that are loyal to him. Dude, where have you been for the last 40, 50, 60 years? That's exactly how everything is done anyways. Wow. In the Russian, it's called Открыл Америку. You've discovered America. Woo! You're about 200 years too late on. Well, actually, it's more like 400 years too late on that, or 600 almost. Good Lord. Yeah. Well, Columbus never actually discovered America. He discovered the Caribbean and Cuba. But, okay, still, getting back to the point, wow, you really opened our eyes up how the system may be run, or rather is run, has been run. Anyways, it's always fun to watch American pundits and experts. Most of them couldn't plan their way out of a round table and couldn't find their way out of a wet paper bag if they had a machete and a map. Yeah. So anyways, it is what it is. It's a brain power you get. So anyways, that's all for now, folks, as they say. That's all, folks. And we will be talking more later, because the news cycle never stops, even when most normal people are sleeping. All right, cheers. God bless.